As the last days of September wind down, the door opens to the month of October as signs of fall begin to show their presence. Hardwood hills display a special beauty as the summer foliage begins to change by painting magnificent colors to the leaves of maples, oaks, hickories, and many other trees that sign the season. Each leaf explodes with color before drying and falling to the forest floor, opening the canopy above for the sun's great light. Cool breezes float through the air, especially during the early and late hours of each day, thus bringing a welcome relief from summer's heat. Flocks of turkeys seem more abundant when this season of harvest creates an ample food supply. The white-tailed deer absorb the fresh, cool air of fall, which brings an increase to their movement, especially during daylight hours. In the distance, Canada geese decorate the soft skies of fall as they ride the gentle breeze. It's these changes Mother Nature offers that bring back memories of what it takes to prepare for the arrival of this great season. Although the forest and fields have an abundance of food for its many inhabitants, we as conservationists can help to ensure our future for all game by planting special foods that can help supplement the natural diet available to all birds and animals. As our great heritage of hunting continues to grow, we as stewards of the land must always plan ahead for our children and their future out of doors. Countless hours spent afield planting crops that help benefit wildlife becomes a special part of the anticipation of the upcoming fall hunting seasons. The white-tailed deer has become the most sought-after animal for hunters and continues to offer the greatest challenge for many sportsmen. Trophy management programs were first tested and introduced on whitetails and have become very successful throughout all deer country. The Night and Hail team are addicted to the great sport of whitetail hunting. They spend countless hours afield trying to outsmart wise old bucks and capture each tail on camera. This video combines early season bow hunting, mid-October muzzleloader hunts, and peak of the rut rifle hunts, all adding up to the ultimate whitetail season.
Well, Chuck, 1994 was a way yonder better average for us filming whitetail deer. We had a good year.
We really did. We, as we usually do during turkey season, we spent every day out there filming. So something's got to happen sooner or later.
I'll tell you what, when you put your time out there, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Well, you know, one of the things that I think is going to be exciting in this video is the fact that we've got not only bow hunts, and we got several of them. We've also got several gun hunts and several muzzleloading hunts. And that just goes to show you that the old Night and Hail team will take in all them seasons when it comes to deer hunting.
I tell you what, I enjoyed, every one of the seasons. The bow season we started off with, and then we run into a little short muzzleload season, then we jumped into the gun season, and back into muzzleload season.
Well, one of the things that doing a video, so to speak, it gives you an opportunity, if you're going to get a very long one, to go to different states. And we get out of Kentucky, yeah, and we've been to Mississippi, and we've been to Louisiana, and we've been to Texas, and we've been to all kinds of different places hunting. And the unfortunate part about it is you don't really get enough time to stay there to really pick and choose the type deer. So we probably took some lesser quality deer than we ordinarily would, but we took some good deer.
Well, you don't get to spend the time to really pattern a deer. You're going to have to spend some time to get old big boy.
Well, Chuck, you probably took the honors this time of killing the largest buck on screen
And
bow
probably
and gun.
hunted the less.
And probably hunted the least. I don't know if you're going to be that lucky again this year, but how did it feel being filmed on killing that buck?
You talk about when I was ready to shoot. You were
Yeah.
right with me. I nearly shook us both out of the trees.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you what, when I saw that deer come up, I know there at one time, I wasn't sure whether I had the camera on or not, and I was too busy sizing that
Well,
deer.
you didn't for a
No,
while,
I didn't. But we managed to get it, and you managed to kill a nice trophy, and that was something. I'm envious of that hunt.
I'll tell you what, David, you killed a good deer too, the bow. And I tell you what, that's what's called being lucky as a corn crib rat. I tell you what, you wasn't out there hardly any time on that deer.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, when you have this many hunts, you better have some luck to go
Yeah.
with it, because you know what, there's a lot of skill involved in lots of things, but in whitetail hunting, there's more luck than there is skill by far.
Well, we got 2 Pope and young deer, a couple other real good deer with guns and muzzleloaders, some real nice deer, average deer. A rack buck with a bow is a trophy to anybody.
Absolutely is.
And it's a good combination. Of course, we're dedicated to this ultimate series of videos on deer and turkey. We're going to spend nearly every day out there. We got some good stuff, but coming up, we got a good tip with Pete Shepley.
You're right, Chuck. This tip with Pete is a great hunting tip.
It's not just for hunting, David. This is good for any archer.
Well, you're right. And what do you say that we join Pete on his tip, and from that point forward, we'll go into our 1994 ultimate hunting season.
All right.
The knocking loop has been around for a long time. It is a simple, effective, and inexpensive feature that anyone can add to their bow. It solves a lot of the problems that occur from using a release aid. The extreme string angle of today's shorter, high-performance bows and the upward pressure of the release aid on the nock of the arrow can cause the arrow to fall off at full draw. Sometimes the release aid pinches the arrow nock off the string. The upward pressure also makes it necessary to re-nock after a letdown. The knocking loop is a short rope which attaches above and below the knocking point. By clipping a release aid to the loop rather than to the bowstring, the force of the release aid is applied evenly above and below the arrow nock. Now your release aid is exactly in line with your arrow instead of below it. Depending on the type of release aid you use, installing a knocking loop may result in a reduction in the draw length setup of your bow. This can be corrected by utilizing the draw length adjustment slots in your PSC eccentrics, or you can also adjust the length of the knocking loop. Another result of the extreme upward pressure of the release aid is what's called nock warping. Nock warping occurs because the upward pressure bends the nock upward. This constant pressure eventually deforms the nock permanently. By installing a knocking loop, you can virtually eliminate the upward pressure on the arrow nock. The knocking loop moves the pressure point of the release aid away from the actual knocking point. By moving the release aid pressure point, you can eliminate knocking point movement and gaps in the serving. You can also eliminate serving damage, which is common from most mechanically attached release aids. Most people don't realize that when you use a release aid without a knocking loop, there's a strong downward pressure on the arrow rest at full draw. Looking at an arrow at full draw from the side, you can clearly see the arrow is bowing from the downward pressure on the arrow rest. This may affect arrow flight due to increased flexing of the arrow after release. In addition, the downward pressure may cause unnecessary loading of the arrow rest. By relieving the bowing of the arrow shaft and the downward pressure on the arrow rest, it is considerably easier to tune your bow. In some cases, after an arrow is released, the arrow nock slides down the string until it leaves the bow. This is illustrated in the high-speed photography from Easton. Since the knocking loop is attached to the bowstring above and below the arrow nock, it eliminates this problem. Once you install a knocking loop, you will be pleased to discover a few other irritating problems are also solved. For example, by tying and serving a loop to the string, peep sight rotation is constantly aligned and controlled. I really encourage you to install a knocking loop and give it a try, because I think you'll find even more advantages than I've suggested here.
Now let's go on some exciting bow hunts. During the early season, the rut has not yet begun. Therefore, the odds of seeing big trophy deer are not so good. David has spent many hours scouting prior to the season. His efforts have all been focused around food sources, such as corn and soybean fields. After locating several bucks using a small cornfield, David conceals his Summit Striker stand amongst the limbs of a big cedar. This gives him a bird's eye view of the field edge. Plus, the westerly wind flow which prevails in this area will be perfect. These small bucks are plentiful and usually are the first to come to the field, along with does and yearlings. There's movement at the end of the field. Looks like 2 bucks. The back deer is a nice 8-point, and he'll work fine. That is, if he gets into range. Those bucks heard David's soft grunts. Subtle calling can be effective during early season. Once the bucks are coming, it's best to cease all calling. The wind is good. Just a few more steps and he'll be inside 30 yards. Then David can tighten the string on his infinity bow.
Man, he can go about 200 yards. That was some hunt. I could hear that camera running back there. I hope it didn't pick up all the shaking I was doing. I thought I'd gotten over that after all these years. But the old adrenaline was going. I was shaking bad. Hope I didn't mess up your camera work, Chuck. Well, he's a nice deer. We're going to have a little more help. We say we go get Harold. I know he's in for this.
Brian Godfrey, pro staffer from the Outdoor News TV show in Monroe, Louisiana, is visiting Kentucky in early October. His visit finds him on a white oak ridge with deer on the move. One of Brian's favorite places to be. Well, only 2 bucks into the hunt, and Brian has picked a shooter out.
Yeah, here's some more good blood right here. Yeah, he stumbled right here and lost a lot of blood. There he is right here, Chuck. Yeah, that's a nice buck here. Sure is. Tell you what, it's pretty warm. I'm gonna go get my pack and come back and get this thing field dressed and go get John, Dave, and Harold and see if we can get this dude out of here.
Let's take another look at a well-placed shot. One nice October day, Chuck persuades his favorite cameraman, David Hale, to make an evening bow hunt. Their summit stands are placed on a hardwood ridge loaded with acorns, right next to a small water hole. Well, as you can see, deer are on the move. Pay attention to deer around you. They'll always spot other deer before you do. As you can guess, Chuck's blood pressure has just climbed several levels, yet David doesn't want this buck shot. He looks like a 2.5-year-old, and if he lives to next year, he should be a monster. This 10-point has everything it takes to be a real trophy. He only needs more age. Scouting is the key to success. A couple of weeks before season, Chuck captured these two big bucks on video as they crossed a small field. When David offered to run the camera again, there was no doubt what area Chuck wanted to hunt.
Look at all the deer now.
Boy, ain't this really
Look,
in here.
this clover and stuff is coming on now.
Yes, sir. Is this the field you saw all these bucks in?
Yeah, you know that big pond up there on the hill? Those deer came off that pond and worked around that draw and went right across the end of this field right here.
Where you think about putting your stand?
Well, you know what? That draw goes up there and goes over that saddle, those big ridges and all those cornfields back in there where David killed that deer.
Yeah.
They're going over that saddle. They're going right out that draw right there. All those cedars. That ought to be a great place to hide. You know, two people. It's tough to hide up there. There's a lot of limbs on those trees. See that big sugar tree right there?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about putting them right there. That's a good buck. You see scrapes right here?
Yeah,
There's scrapes
I'm
here.
just looking at that scrape. They'll be on all these low limbs around this field probably.
There over there is a white oak tree over there, a red oak. It's got a lot of sign under it. There's about 3 scrapes.
You remember the first of the season now. This ain't the very first, but you know, this is 2 weeks in the season. You're going to see a lot of these young bucks come to these scrapes, but that don't mean the old buck won't come out there and check them too.
As long as I'm seeing bucks, I'll stay here. I know a big boy's around here somewhere. Where do you think about putting your stand?
Well, I'm gonna get away from y'all because you know y'all gonna be filming 2 of them in that tree. I'm gonna get away from it for a good piece. That's one reason I want to come up here and see where y'all's at because I'm gonna go haul 2 over.
Well, let's go find your
All
place
right.
and get the stands. We'll get them up. This rain's gonna clear out here.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll go hunting.
Later that evening, our team headed for their stands. it's important to approach your stands correctly and always wear some type of rubber boots. It's almost too dark to film when a huge 9-point appears right under the stand.
Look at that big boy. Golly. A big 9-point. Man, look at that deer. I bet that deer's 18, 20 inches inside. Son, that big Simmons broadhead did a job on him. It's a good thing too in this rain. We may not have had a lot of blood trail to follow. He didn't go 40 yards. It's that brush pile we heard him crashing around in, Dave. Golly. Well, you know one nice thing about hunting close to these fields? We can get the truck close to this big buck. And we'll just take him and show him to Harold. He'll be proud of us, won't he? Golly, what a deer.
The buck tries to duck the arrow, but at an almost straight down angle, the shot collapses both lungs.
Well, get 3 different shots in 2 areas there, don't we?
Yeah, 2 of them look pretty good.
Wish we could do that every shot.
Don't you? Don't you know?
Jim, we got hits in a couple different areas. The heart-lung area, which is perfect.
Excellent.
Excellent. This is broadside shot we were practicing. We got one arrow that strayed into the gut or paunch area, which human error allows a lot. What are you going to do in a case like this?
Well, I think the most important shot, whether it is here, whether it is here or here, is what we do as soon as we let the arrow fly. And that's make sure we get the best possible mark on where we hit the animal. And you can do that in 2 ways. Follow your fletching to the target, stay with the shot, and then watch the animal react. Because an animal will tell you basically where, he'll tell you a lot of times whether he was hit low in the heart or it's hit back, and on how they react to the hit itself.
That's part of experience of hunting too.
Sure
I noticed you got one fletching that's got a camouflage color to it. You got one that's got some bright colors to it.
Well, everybody's different. You can still see the yellow quite well. Yellow's a good color. White, a lot of hunters, some prefer it and some don't. Personally, I like it because I can follow it all the way to the target. And you don't have to have every arrow fletch a color, just one that way that you're going to be shooting.
Okay, you hit this deer in the paunch now. What do you do now?
Okay, you mark where you hit it. If it's a marginal shot and you're a little bit leery of it, like this one here where I'd be very leery, like I said, it could hit some of the liver, but primarily that's a pounce shot. So what I would look for on this is I'd look for the arrow to go through. The next most important thing is to follow the animal as far as you can see it until you just can't see it anymore, and then mark visually with something that's out there while you're still on stand where the last place you saw the animal was.
You mean get down and walk out there and mark?
No, mark it in your mind's eye with something that's out there. Don't get down. That's the last thing you want to do. Make sure you have a marker where you last saw it, because this animal can live for a long while. And if you get adrenaline flowing and you happen to jump that animal or push it, you may never recover it. So that's the last thing you want to do. Mark the spot you made the shot, watch the watch the animal run off, and then mark the last place you visually saw that animal and be able to go back there.
How much time do you give him?
Well, after I mark that spot, I'm going to go to the place that I looked, and I'm going to see what I got. If I got red bubbly blood, I know I saw it wrong, and I probably did hit him in the lungs. If I find intestinal stuff, I know that I shot him too far back, and I'm going to give that animal personally at least 8 hours. 8 hours.
Depending on weather conditions, and then you get somebody of yours and
go back home, get some friends to help you. Even if it's late, I don't care if it's late. I'd rather, if you go, then you're going to push this animal and you're never going to recover it, because you know where it went the last place you saw it. You don't push it, that animal may go 100, 150, 200 yards and lay down, and that's going to be it. But if you push him, he'll go 800, 900 yards.
Well, that's a good tip. Let's do some more practice.
All right, buddy.
Now, back to the ultimate whitetail season. The Night and Hail team arrived at Willow Point on the first day, just in time for a good afternoon bow hunt. Manager Hank Hearn put Harold on a stand close to a known bedding area, and right off he has immediate action. About 4 o'clock, this nice young 7-pointer emerges from a thick area and passes 20 yards from Harold's location. But Harold decides to let him grow another year. An hour later, after some soft grunting on the Easy Grunter Plus, this big 8-point suddenly appears. He's definitely a shooter, but the thick cover won't allow Harold a good shot. Here he comes, but he's cautious. We aren't sure what that object is sticking out of his back, but he is in good shape and acts like he's had some experience with another bow hunter. Well, it looks like he'll be around another year. Meanwhile, Night and Hail pro staffer Buddy Hanks is on a stand location where guide Ernest Moorhead has seen several real nice bucks. After seeing some smaller bucks, this beautiful 8-pointer is spotted at about 80 yards. Buddy realizes this big whitetail is extremely cautious, but the wind is in Buddy's favor, so he must be patient and hope this big boy will move closer. Finally, the buck moves closer, and Buddy uses the cover between he and the deer to get into position. Lady luck favors Buddy when a doe comes in from behind. This captures the old buck's attention, and Buddy takes advantage of the opportunity. He must pick an opening he hopes the 8-pointer will travel through and get ready for the shot. Well, I guess the opening wasn't as big as it looked. That's bow hunting, buddy. He'll be bigger next year. During early bow season, around midday when deer activity decreases, small pushes or drives can be very effective. Harold and Chuck have selected a stand location at the head of a thicket, while David makes the push from upwind. On a well-executed drive, the driver should ease through the thick cover very quietly and let his wind drift ahead. Usually, the deer will slip out of the cover past the standards. With a 1 buck limit here, Harold elects to pass on this youngster, hoping for a better buck. This young 5-pointer offers a good shot. Still, he isn't quite big enough. He should be a nice 2.5-year-old next year. A fox squirrel alerts our hunters another deer is coming. Now here's what we're after. It looks like a good 8-point. Deer will use this cover on a drive to watch their back trail. He doesn't have a clue that our hunters are here. At only 20 yards, Harold must wait for an open shot. Let's take another look at a well-placed shot.
Well, you gonna clean this air up or you gonna save it for a souvenir?
I'm gonna clean that dude up and shoot it again, dude. I don't get to shoot one but once. Most times usually break off. That shot clear through him.
What kind of Simmons broadhead is that?
That's that land shark, and you know what? I really like them because you can put them on them ACC carbon aluminum shafts from Easton, and I tell you what, that done a job on that deer.
How far did he go?
I know how far he went. He went 60 yards and piled up in a treetop. I could see him fall. Of course, you could hear him too, but I mean, I saw him fall.
Well, how far a shot was it?
Like I like them close.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what, if he didn't go over 60 yards, I'm fixing to put some of those broadheads on my shaft too. Is this the direction right here he went? I golly, Harold, you did see him pile up. He didn't go far, did he?
No, I heard him fall. Man, what? That's good for a bow. I didn't hesitate on shooting, I can tell you that. Well, where's it coming through?
Oh, you put that in the boiler room, didn't you?
Yeah, he was close. That's what I like.
David's hunt begins in late December when the food source has been cut to a minimum. Deer often yard up during this late part of the season as they search for remaining food sources. A heavy snow always makes for better hunting. It's much easier to find a large concentration of deer. After locating an area that holds lots of deer, David settles into his stand, which is strategically placed just for some late-season deer drives. Comfort is a key during cold days. This buckwing neck-up really helps hold in your body heat. This thick hillside lies between two fields, making a perfect funnel for these well-planned drives. In only an hour, Harold's 1/2 mile push brings deer right to David's position. Deer often bunch up on a drive and move through these thickets in herds. David spots a nice buck in this group, but they're out of bow range and are hesitant about leaving the thick cover. The buck passes by at 50 yards on the run. Definitely not a high percentage shot. Minutes later, another group appears with a real good buck. The does follow the same path the earlier bunch took, and this buck tries to sneak out the side. Little does he know, his route leads close to David's stand. One series of grunts stops the buck, offering a 25-yard shot.
Man, that deer didn't go far. About 60 yards, 70 yards out there, and he fell over. And it's a dadgone good deer. You know what? It just goes to show you, when you got a good snow on the ground, cold weather like it is, this time of year in the late season, deer yard up a whole lot. This is about the 10th deer we've seen come through here today. When you got people that's driving deer, you got deer coming through all the time, man can stay in a tree stand a whole lot longer. It makes a guy like me that's really impatient stand here.
Let's take a slow motion look at David's quartering away shot.
Well, Harold, that old wood duck box is produced again. That old hen's got about 6 little ones down there.
I can't even see them with naked eye.
You know, this is your time of the year fishing. You like that big time. And, you know, from my end of it, and I like a little fishing, but I'd rather get out here and see how many little turkeys been born, how many little geese, how many little ducks. And we're not about a week and a half away from the fawn crop coming along, and that really excites me to watch all that.
Well, you know, we just got over turkey season, but right before the turkey season, you know, we got over a good deer hunt, so, you know, it's one season right after another coming in.
Yeah, you know, bow season's not that far away, but one of the things that we've been taking advantage of the last couple of 3 years, and especially in a big way, is a muzzleloading season. And I really look forward to that early muzzleloading season, because bow hunting's great, and I like to participate in it, but I like to pick up that old smoke pole every once in a while,
you
too.
know, a lot of the states are giving us an early muzzleload season and giving us a late muzzleload season, you know, depending on what state you're in. You know, the state of Kentucky and some of the states like Tennessee and West Virginia and Virginia, they give you a couple seasons. And, you know, I shoot a muzzleload with a scope on it. And I notice you got one with and one without. But I almost have to have a scope now. I'm telling you what, it helps me so much.
Well, there's a lot of places, and of course, man needs to check his regulations. You can't use a scope on a muzzleloader. But for those places you can, yeah, I understand exactly why you got it, because really it's kind of taking the primitive out of primitive weapons.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. Anytime they'll give me something to better myself, I'm gonna take it.
Well, on the early season, especially here in Kentucky and some of the other states that offer it, you still got to be concerned with camouflage, because there's still a lot of foliage out there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I am a diehard about is carrying optics with me. I don't know how many times, even though you can't use a scope in places, the binoculars are a big time deal for being able to tell how far that deer is to some extent, what size he is, size it all up where you can't see it with your naked eye.
Yeah. You know, I notice everywhere you go in your truck, wherever you go, you got a pair of binoculars with. And you know what? I've got one of me most of the time too.
Yeah, I know you do. And speaking of muzzleloading season, we had a great season last year. I know we got 2 or 3 hunts captured on film. We got some we didn't. But I think it's time that we share that with the viewing audience.
I think that'd be great.
At Willow Point, today's bow hunter can have the opportunity of a lifetime for a big whitetail buck. Terra Wildlife Management also owns and operates other properties like Halpino Hunting Club. Memberships are available for all types of outdoor recreation. On the last day of the trip, David visited the Halpino Club for a one-day muzzleloader hunt. Let's join him in action. It's mid-morning on a crisp, clear day, and David has seen lots of deer, including several young bucks. Sitting 20 feet high in his summit shooter stand gives David visibility in all directions. He spots what seems to be a mature buck. These Pentax 10x40 glasses close the 150-yard gap to help David judge the class of this animal. Although there are much bigger bucks here, on a one-day hunt, David thinks a good buck in sight is worth 2 big ones in the bush. This is an ideal situation for David. He can dictate when and how to call by watching the deer's action. The buck is definitely interested and seems to be content knowing he's close to other deer. With all this thick cover, David must wait for the perfect shot. He's 70 yards and closing, yet David has the wind in his favor and will let the big buck keep coming. The buck is coming straight to the calling, trying to find the deer he heard grunting. When a deer is this close, the height of your stand can be a crucial factor. At 20 yards, he stops to browse on some green briar and gives David a perfect opportunity.
Man, this is a nice deer. I'd much rather harvest him with a bow, but you know what? Muzzle loading season is a special treat to those fellas who didn't do any good during gun season or didn't have any luck during bow season, or if you've already filled one tag and you got another one to fill, hey, they give us a season. I look forward to getting into it every year, and muzzle loading is something a little bit different, a little bit special. Sometimes the old gun just misfires, and there he goes.
Outdoor writer and good friend Joe Byers of Hagerstown, Maryland, has joined the Night and Hail team for an October muzzle loader hunt. Armed with a CBA muzzle loader topped with a Lightseeker Pentax scope, Joe is ready for some whitetail action. His stand location overlooks a secluded food plot where several bucks have been seen chasing their girlfriends. This time of year is considered to be the pre-rut, which means the boys are on the prowl. A grunt call can be very effective during this part of the season. Joe only has a couple of days to hunt, but he chooses to pass this smaller buck, hoping Mr. Big might show later. Sure enough, about an hour later he shows, coming in from behind, walking directly under the stand. This buck came in so fast, Joe can't ready his gun. Watch what happens. A short grunt or whistle will sometimes stop a spooked deer, offering a good shot.
Man, what a nice buck. What a hunt. All right.
Let's join the Night and Hail team for an ultimate whitetail hunting tip.
Joe, you know that was a super buck you shot yesterday, and you made a heck of a shot on that deer, that muzzleload. Now, you know, I'm not a real experienced muzzleload hunter, but I've hunted some. And, you know, I hear so many pros and cons about what you got to have to muzzleload hunt with. Some of them say you got to have a bunch of different things. What do you have to really start muzzleload hunting?
Well, Harold, really, it's black powder is a lot simpler than people think. Like you say, there's a lot of misinformation out there. Let me start at the top of the line, if I can. This is one of Tony Knight's rifles, the modern muzzleloaders, and in some ways, black powder is a little bit like archery in that this is sort of the compound bow of the black powder sport, and it comes with a safety. As a matter of fact, this particular model has a double safety. That makes sure that the rifle won't fire when it's not supposed to. It's got what's called an inline ignition, which means the cap fires a spark directly into the powder charge, and it's very, very reliable. So most of them come tapped with a scope. If a fellow likes to use a regular rifle, then this is very much like that.
You know, a lot of states let you use a scope, and a lot of them doesn't. But if you can, I'd rather have a scope.
A scope makes a big difference in your ability to shoot accurately. Now, a step down from the compound is sort of the recurve, and this is a side lock rifle, and again, it operates at half cock, which is really the safety position. With muzzleloading, you do want to go off half cocked because that's the safest position. And when to fire it, you want to bring it to full cock. And one way of a person's interested in buying a rifle like this, they probably ought to see if they can pull it all the way back quietly. That's important. And again, it comes. This one is made by CVA. It comes with scope mounts. This particular one has what are called see-through scope mounts. So if a fellow wants to use a scope and his iron sights, he can do both. The other misconception is that people need to carry a lot of things. And although the possibles bag was used by our frontiersmen, really, when I go hunting, I carry a couple of these. These are called speed loaders. They have the bullet, the cap first of all, and a bullet, and the powders in this end. And
it's already measured out and everything.
Already measured. It's ready to go. And when I shot that deer, I got out and loaded that gun in probably 30 seconds, and I was ready to go again. So by carrying those, that eliminates the problem of finding things when you get excited or in a hurry and so forth. So really, you don't need the possibles bag. You can mostly carry everything in your pocket. And the final thing about black powder hunting is the cleaning of the guns. And there are a couple of different types of cleaning fluids you can use. This one is a heavy detergent kind. You pour a little in the barrel, put a toothpick in the nipple, and run the ramrod up and down a few times, and it cleans it very quickly. The folks at Thompson Center recommend using all natural cleaning products. They have a lubricant also, and I've used this many times. Works very well. It's called Wonder Lube, and it works like a Wonder. You can shoot and shoot and shoot with a Wonder Lube, and it will not foul the barrel. Again, they recommend using all natural cleaning and lubricants. That is something that doesn't have petroleum in it. And in that way, it doesn't foul as often. And as a matter of fact, they recommend it or suggest that you only have to clean your gun at the end of the season. Personally, I'm very sensitive about the fire channel. The fire channel is the part that makes the gun go off. And I take the nipple out each time I shoot, and each day I begin, I have a clean fire channel so that I know that gun's going to shoot.
Now, back to the ultimate whitetail season.
You know, Harold, in this up-and-coming segment here, we're going to be talking about rifle hunting, looking back on some of the rifle hunts we had last year. One of the things that I found out at this time of the year, it's never too early to get your equipment into proper condition. And when I talk about proper condition, I'm talking about something you're comfortable with using.
You know, you like to gun hunt, I'll have to say, David, probably better than I do.
Well, I'm going to tell you why I like to gun hunt. I can reach out there 200 yards and pick that bigger buck out.
I think it's because your patience is a little shorter than mine. But anyway, you have all your I's dotted, your T's crossed when it comes to gun hunting. Now.
Well, you know, one of the things, you take a gun like this, now this is a 7mm, it can step out there for elk, and it's also a little bit large maybe for whitetail deer, but for reaching out 300 yards, if you actually have to, it's still a good size caliber.
You know, I noticed you got one of those light seeker scopes on there from Pentex. That's what I shoot, David, and I love it.
Well, I'm going to tell you what that does. That gives me an extra 4, 5, 6 minutes, maybe just a little bit more at dark that the other scopes won't give you. And that's when those big bucks usually come out, so I want every advantage I can get there. And now one of the other things that is really important about your weapon is being comfortable knowing that the ammunition you're going to shoot is going to perform for you. Of course, we use Winchester's fail-safe ammunition, and I've never had a problem with it. I like to use about a 150 grain bullet for a whitetail deer, and I'm going to move on up a little bit bigger for an elk. But you need to have that scope set in, and you need to shoot it 10 or 15 times as often as you can, maybe 3 or 4 times a year before deer season comes in, so you know whether your eye relief is proper. You don't want to get that eye dotted, and you want to be able to squeeze that trigger without flinching. And you want to make sure that scope's set in. And of course, Oh, absolutely. You're going to get comfortable with your equipment.
David, I'll tell you something else I like to do. I like to, in the mid-season, I'm talking about the deer season's end, is to shoot that gun 3 or 4 times. Because I put it in and out of the truck, and first thing you know, you're going to knock your scope off. You need to shoot that thing and make sure she's still on.
Most people don't do except pick it up once or twice a year and go hunting with it. And one of the other things that's important in your equipment is deer calling. Of course, as a bow hunter, it's essential. As a gun hunter, now that we've got the new extended tone, you can get volume galore.
You know what? This is going to help you gun hunting. Because
Absolutely.
this call's a lot louder. You can go. Now, if you want to tone it down, you know, today it's a real still day. I'd probably have the thing in like this.
That thing's got so much versatility in it, it's unreal, don't it?
That's right.
Well, you know, a man can, we've got a video out with that now that's 50 minutes with a couple of 3 hunts on it. You can either buy the kit, and that's the extended tone with the video, or you can buy the extended tone call by itself. It's going to be the wave of the future. These gun hunts coming up, I'm excited about them. What do you say we take a look at them?
Let's do that.
For those who don't know exactly who you are, explain a little bit about AdSco, your UV violet killer real quick, and what other products you make that might be of interest.
Well, we started out, AdSco has been making Snow Seal that waterproofs your leather boots since 1933.
Maybe the best stuff ever made.
It's the best in the world, and we sell it in 80-some countries now. I'm a hunter, I've hunted all my life, and I started going further into the hunting products from just the boot waterproofing. And I discovered the way that deer see and vision, and went to all these vision scientists and learned about that, and found out about the ultraviolet glow of clothing, developed the UV killer. Then we've come out with the new product, which, as you saw, we used this morning. None of those deer ever got a whiff of us this morning.
No, the no odor.
That swirling wind. And that's the no odor.
That's
and
probably
that
my favorite.
Bottle, yeah, I carry it with me all the time, and that pump bottle is just a phenomenal thing. It just sprays like an aerosol, and the sportsman refills it. It's fresh all the time.
You know, one of the things I found out, Kurt, is of all the characteristics that a deer has, his nose is the most important.
Absolutely. He can His vision is not sharp and crystal clear like ours. He sees movement even far better, and he sees in light that we think is pitch
And you
dark.
noticed this morning that 2.5-year-old buck, or possibly 3.5-year-old buck, got about 75 yards. And he started suspicioning things. If it had been a 1.5 years old, and I'm not saying he picked up or older, because I don't know, I think I grunted to him once too much. But nevertheless, a young buck, he'll walk right up under your stand. He's not ready yet for wisdom. But the older bucks, you better be scent free if you possibly can. And that's a great product. I use that just every time I go to the woods. But let me tell you something. It's getting late. I don't think the sun's going to shine.
No, I don't either.
And it's going to be another one of those afternoons like it was this morning, a little bit chilly. You going to be able to handle it?
Oh yeah, and I think they're going to start moving earlier today.
Or what do you say we ease on out there and get in that stand? That'll give us, it's 1 o'clock, give us about 4 hours. You think you can stay 4 hours?
Oh, no problem. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Okay.
Mr. Von Besser qualifies as one of those lucky hunters we would all like to be. Only 30 minutes into his hunt, 2 big rut-crazed bucks chase an estrus doe behind his stand. Although Kurt couldn't get a shot at the larger one, a few grunts brought this nice 9-point right back to 50 yards.
Stuff up here. Blood.
He can't be much further.
No, he's losing a lot of blood now.
Yeah, he's made a lot of signs here.
Yeah. Stuff's all here.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. There he
Good
is.
shot, boy. That's great. That's great. No hand.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you.
You
Good
put
deal.
me on him.
Good deal.
Wow. Just starting to become a 10-pointer, but he's an 8. 9.
Got a little wart on his eye.
Longtime hunting companion Larry Rogers of Gilbert, Louisiana, has bought the hunt of a lifetime at Cane Mount Plantation in Lorman, Mississippi. This trophy-managed area, consisting of 12,000 acres, is absolutely loaded with bucks. Lots of bucks. Let's take a look at just a few of the bucks Larry saw in 2 days of hunting. wild Russian boars are an added bonus to a deer hunt here at Cane Mount Plantation. Just before dark on the last day, Larry spots the buck he's waited for. The rut is in full swing, and this big boy has got it bad. Although the first shot is a perfect hit, it takes one more to bring this monster down. Although there are much bigger bucks here, this fine whitetail gross scores 145, a trophy in anyone's book.
Turn him a little bit.
The great state of Texas, the first day after some in-depth scouting and a morning tour of the Willoughby Ranch, Harold discovers the deer here prefer those sweet live oak acorns. A good shade tree with some ground cover seems like just the place to spend the afternoon, especially since it's close to a big grove of live oaks that borders a thick bedding area. Now keep in mind, when you choose to hunt on ground level, pay some respect to a whitetail's eyesight, which, by the way, is much greater than yours. Take advantage of some of the new camouflage that's available today, and cover all body parts. It's only a few hours into the hunt when a nice buck appears, and his path is leading straight to Harold and the camera. It's a good buck, but only one day into the hunt. You might say it's his lucky day. One nice thing about Texas, there's always plenty of wildlife to enjoy, and that's a big part of what makes for a good hunt. Now these fellows act like they've met here for dinner many times. Two more days of warmer temperatures have passed, and there has been a decrease in deer movement. Harold's new stand location will now be closer to the bedding area. Plus, this time he'll take advantage of a tripod stand to gain more visibility on this terrain. That big white circle continues to decrease activity. Most of the deer movement can be seen during the last hour or so each day. These young bucks are always the first to stir. I guess they're like growing boys, always looking for a snack. Now here's something that gets Harold's attention, especially about the first part of April. There's a nice buck, and he seems to have more than eating on his mind. He might be more interested in a few soft grunts versus a few sweet acorns. That extendatone has got this buck convinced another buck has invaded his rutting grounds.
There he is. Buck. There he is, buddy. There you go. He's running first. I told you, he's running about 75 yards.
He ain't gonna run no more.
Oh, man. Nice little 8-point.
Yeah, it is. Ain't nothing more wrong with that up there.
Yeah, look where he is, right through the shoulder.
Yep. That's what we're textbook.
Yeah.
Textbook. Ain't nothing
Well,
more wrong with that.
One thing about it, we ain't like the dragon far. We can,
No.
we can drive pretty close to him, can't we?
Yeah. We can drive right up to him.
Guys, 1994 ultimate deer hunting season was a good one. I can tell you what, I was just tickled to be a part of it.
I just want to be there, Dave, and I enjoyed it.
We got our work cut out for us, don't we, for
Have
next
we?
year?
Well, when you talk about next year, this is next year, and it all starts over again in September for the deer. But you know what? We started 1995 off with a bang. We have the ultimate spring turkey season that we do every year, and this is our second one already completed. We had 29 actual filmed hunts on that. Chuck, when you get ready to put that together, you're gonna have a tough time trying to narrow that down. Who's gonna get in?
Feelings, aren't I?
That's
Cutting
gonna be
people
tough.
out. That's a good problem to have, though.
That's a good problem, but every one of the hunts you cut out is going to be a good hunt.
That's right.
Well, we'll save them in case we don't have that good a start. I just hope we have half that good a start, starting in September on the next volume of Ultimate Whitetail Hunting.
Well,
I think we will. I think, we've got some good plans coming up, good places to hunt, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we do have some excellent deer hunts lined up for this year. Good Lord willing, our wives allow a little bit of hunting. Maybe we'll have another good season.
If anyone's interested in any Nightingale products, whether it be deer call, turkey calls, goose calls, etc., videos, the Ultimate Series, Volume 1 on turkey, Volume 2 on turkey, Volume 1 on whitetail and 2, be sure and write to the address on the screen and we'll send you a free brochure listing all of our products. Guys, what's 1995 going to do to us? Are y'all ready? Have you got your equipment ready?
Well, our work's cut out for us, just keeping him straight, isn't it?
It's cut out for us.
Somebody's got to do this now.
See you next time on a brand new edition of the Ultimate Series.
The Ultimate Whitetail season has been brought to you by these fine sponsors: Night and Hail, game calls that speak for themselves. PSE, the world's best archers shoot the world's best equipment. Pentax, signature of a hunter. Winchester Ammunition, what America shoots. Buckwing Products, keeping you dry, comfortable, and concealed. Realtree, America's most versatile camo pattern. Summit Tree Stands, computer designed, hunter tested. Atsko Snow Seal, manufacturers of no odor. Colston Products, keeping traditions alive, not the ticks.